I've enjoyed, interacting, but I am just grateful that this is now bringing us to the end of this particular session. We're dealing with discipline. We're going to look at the goals of discipline. Why do we discipline? The proper and improper administration of discipline, balanced discipline, how to prevent discipline problems, methods of discipline for pathfinders and for adventurers, because these are two different age groups. So you cannot use the same methods for them. Punishable offenses that would lead to you taking action, and the procedure for discipline. Why do we discipline? We don't discipline to break the child. We discipline because we want to guide the child as sons and daughters of God. So in other words, you don't do it in order to break them. Why am I saying that? I'm emphasizing that because I had a situation where one of my managers was, I believe she was threatened by this particular subordinate. And the subordinate was, those high flyers that, whatever they touch, they are just, because they are hard workers, because they are passionate about what they do. And this particular manager comes to me and says to me, I want to break so and so. They are too big for their shoes. I want to cut them to size. And I looked at it and I was like, why do you want to cut anybody to size instead of guiding? Because as a leader, you're not there to cut anybody to size. You are there to guide people and give them structures of what they can and cannot do. And I think what made worse was the fact that this particular person was new in the position, and this subordinate knew the business better than her. She lost the opportunities of really taking advantage of that and guiding the person in a way that will still allow the person to really shine without breaking them. When we discipline people, we don't break them, we guide them. We need to show them our love and understanding. We need to teach them God's character. We need to make them useful members of the church and the country. You need to help them respect their leaders and their parents. So when you discipline, please know why you are disciplining. There has to be a particular goal, and that goal should be such that you're not breaking the child, but you're guiding the child to a particular behavior, or to you're guiding them away from a negative behavior to try and redirect them appropriately. There's proper and improper forms of discipline. The wrong way to administer the discipline is when you crush or break, like I'm saying, you break the spirit by using strict force or cutting words. The crushed spirit will develop distrust, evasiveness, and hatred for authority. Proper discipline. The correct way to administer discipline is you need to inspire that which is right and orderly by love, kindness, and discipline. Guys, I can tell you what, this is possible. People always believe that if you don't break the child, if you not crush the child, if you not put the child down to where they need to be, you not get the right response. You do get the right response by love, kindness, and also you lead by example yourself. If you yourself are disciplined, the kids start admiring and wishing they could be like you. So you need to ask yourself, am I disciplined for me to be able to discipline the others? Like Christ was saying, if we are without sin, cast the first stone. So we need to also look at ourselves and say, am I disciplined enough to want to break and crush somebody? You need to win confidence of the youth. They need to be confident in you. They need to trust you. You need to show them you love them through kindness. You need to show them that you expect their loyal cooperation. The balanced discipline. You need to establish rules and regulation and the point system. Again, let me share you my experience. In fact, I'm still amazed and shocked that there are families who raise children where there's no rules. I want to repeat that. Years ago, I had the pleasure of having my relatives send their kids to visit us in the house. And the kids were just simply unruly. And each time I said to them, you can't do that, they'll say, why, you know? So eventually they asked me to call their parents because they said they could not stay in my house because I have too many rules. And I was very shocked because I thought, you know, I didn't think I have too many rules, but there are things that kids can do, cannot do in the house. You need to guide them and make sure that they know the proper ways of behaving in the way that is not putting anybody in danger, the way that's not putting them in danger, but the way that also protect the property. You don't want the kids that are so unruly that they break everything. So I think having rules and regulation is very important. Kids need structure. Where there is no structure, they are unruly and they get confused. And I can tell what some of us who are executives managing kids out there, we can see from a mile the kids that have not grown up in a structured environment where there's no rules, where when they even come in the work environment, they still think that you know, they don't have to follow any rules. So it's very important because you prepare them for their future. You need to inform the children of the rules, your expectation and methods of enforcement. Rules should be few and well considered, and once made, they should be enforced. Whatever is found impossible to change, the mind learns to recognize and adapt itself to. That's education, page 260. So even Sister White really does emphasize the importance of making sure that there are rules and making sure that you enforce them. Once you've put those rules, enforce them. And you need to be consistent. Don't enforce rule for this child because she is or he is so and so child, and that other one, you know, you don't have to enforce because you know, this is an elder's child, or no, this is the pastor's child. Rules are rules for everybody, irrespective of who they are. You need to enforce them and enforce them equally. You need to present devotional on discipline and explain the pledge and the law. In fact, I had this opportunity 2 weeks ago. I got a message that, you know, one of my class, there were problems with discipline and respect for the counselor. And I just called the counselor and asked if I would do the devotion for the next class. And my devotion was targeted dealing exactly with that issue. You know, sometimes you don't need to come up with you know, a big stick. Sometimes you need to just provide the reference to the children for them to know why they need to make sure that they're behaving appropriately. And sometimes, you know, especially when you're dealing with teenagers, teenagers have a tendency of not, you know, governing their behavior because of the hormones that are out of whack. So bringing in such guidance by, you know, through the devotions, through the examples of who Christ was, how Christ behaved, it helps the children to realize that no, they're on the wrong path. I didn't need to say anything or say, oh, so and so you did this, so and so you're doing this. I just had to say, listen, guys, there's an expectation from the club. There's an expectation from us as the body of Christ, especially also for those who are baptized member of the church. You already are an example to those who are still yet to make decisions for Christ. So your behavior really makes a call whether they will accept Christ as their savior, or whether they look at you and think, oh, wow, if they're behaving like that when they're baptized members, you know, what difference are they from me? So you try and show the kids through the scripture and through what is expected of them, of their behavior, that it's disruptive and it's not moving us in the right direction. Consistently and diligently apply training discipline. Counsel the guilty youth before disciplinary action and pray with them. When they understand, they will normally cooperate. Again, that's an emphasis, as leaders. And the nice thing is that you're given an opportunity to minister to these kids. So you minister first and see if the behavior doesn't change. How to prevent discipline problems. So what do we do for us not to even get to that point of disciplining children? You need to plan an extensive program of activities. Guys, don't come into the club unprepared. Don't wing it. Because the kids know when you are prepared. The kids know when you are just, flying by the seat of your pants. As a result, they also feel like you're not seeing them as important. You're not treating them appropriately. So, but they know when the person who's coming to meet with them is prepared, and they are very interactive when they know that you are prepared. So make sure that you have a program and that you are prepared. Never go to, I suppose I said the second one, never go to meetings unprepared. Be friendly and caring and approachable at all times. Cultivate a sense of humor. Oh, that's very important. I think I need to disclose this. When I joined the Pathfinders, every kid, I'm told, feared me. And I couldn't figure out why, because I've never raised my voice on anybody, but they said just looking at me, they just were afraid. So I've had to find a way of coming down for them to show them that I can also have fun. I can also, I'm not this serious person who cannot be approached, So you need to create that environment that the kids can see that you are approachable, that you're not that person that is standoffish, that cannot be, dealt with, because then they fear you. Instead of being able to open up from you, they close down. Don't use sarcasm or ridicule. Oh, my word. I think for me, I always say that anybody who uses sarcasm or ridicule a child is just a person that's just too small. I don't know what the right word is. I said, is not happy with themselves. Because when you cut down somebody, it's because you are not happy with who you are. When you are happy with who you are, you always want people also to be, happy. You don't cut a person down or ridicule a person for you to feel better about yourself. Don't be a fault finder. Don't try and find a fault. Try and listen and try and and see both sides of the story. There's always two sides of the story. Be fair and impartial. Don't have favorites. That's very critical. Show self-control and be patient even under pressure. That's very critical. Watch mannerism. Watch the use of your voice. Speak clearly and with authority, but don't shout. This is my journey. I pray every day that God would help me. I'm a Zulu girl. I come from a family where we shout. So we shout when we're speaking. So even when I'm speaking, I'm shouting. Sometimes people interpret it as if I am shouting at them. But I raise my voice. That's how I speak. So I've had to learn to find a way of toning down, because when I'm excited, I shout. When I'm frustrated, I shout. But it's not because I'm shouting at that person. It's because that's how I speak. I get excitable. But I've had to learn to govern that part of me, so that it's not misinterpreted by the children, especially by the children. Give clear and precise instruction and commands. Watch mannerism that could lead to ridicule. So you need to make sure that whatever you do, it doesn't lead to a child feeling that they are being ridiculed. It is very important, because then that also determines how this child feels around the others. If you want them to fit in, you want them to be part of the club, they need to feel that they are also treated equally as the other kids. The methods of discipline for Pathfinders, the do's and don'ts. Do point out what the Pathfinder was doing wrong. That's very important. Don't just discipline without actually first taking the person through what they were doing, what was wrong with what they were doing. Ask him or her to explain his behavior. Conduct this counsel on a friendly basis. Make an effort to build up the ideal behavior. Take into consideration the child's background. Consider the child's physical and mental makeup. Consider the seriousness of the offense. Again, that goes back to saying when you consider the child's physical and mental makeup, there are kids who behave in a certain way, not because they are just ill-disciplined, but because they are dealing with something. As a story is told of a father who was on a train, and then he was with his children, and his children were jumping and they were doing all kinds of things. And the people in the train were looking at this father and saying, and this father doesn't know how to handle his children. These children are badly behaved, And then somebody suddenly spoke up and said, listen, control your children, they are misbehaving. And suddenly the father, it was as if he's coming out of a sleep or trance. And he says, oh, I'm sorry. I think they are upset, they've just lost their mother. So you need to look at the situation, try and find out why the child is behaving the way they're behaving. Sometimes children have different ways of expressing their feelings. When they don't know how to behave, they don't know how to relate to a particular pain, they might behave in a way where you think, man, what is going on here? I related again the story of the boy who was almost expelled at school, only to find that, he had lost his friend and nobody had understood what he was going through, the pain he was going through, until he opened up that, I'm not coping with the loss of my friend. So you need to understand the makeup of the child. You also need to consider the seriousness of the offense. Don't blow your gasket just because a child just forgot to hand in the work. Just make sure that you give the child another day to do the work, but deal with it according to how serious the offense is. Make the pathfinder aware of the consequences of the behavior and the possibility of expulsion. Now that's very important. Don't punish in anger. Don't force an apology from a child in public, because half the time you might find that they're not entirely to blame. You might be catching the end of a misbehavior. Sometimes you might find that somebody had pulled the child's hair, and you only turned when the child was saying stop, and then you caught that and you think that child was hitting somebody else, only to find that the child was actually protecting themselves from a misbehavior. Don't detain after club meeting. Try any other mean of dealing with the situation. Don't do things that will make the child not to like being in the club. Don't assign extra task, because especially if the child is already falling behind and you're giving them extra tasks, you're making it impossible for the child to actually even catch up. It becomes a burden more than fun to be in the club. Oh, this next one, you will be thrown in jail. Don't use corporal punishment. It's a crime. I think read that act. Don't humiliate the child. This will most likely cause rebellion or bring embarrassment. Actually, maybe let me share again. I like to share about my own journey with my children. I have 3 children again, like I had mentioned earlier. And I discovered, I got my kids in my early 20s, so I had all the time to learn them and learn their behaviors. And I had the luxury of growing up with them. And I soon realized that the 3 of them, really, they behave differently. My firstborn, who is my son, I can say to him, I'm so disappointed in you. Go sit in your room. Oh, I tell you what, I've just sent him to the Holiday Inn. He loves being in his room. He would go there, and that you are disappointed in him is neither here or there for him. It doesn't faze him. But as soon as I said, listen, go get my belt, then he crumbles. And I knew very well that to get him to listen to what I want to say, all I need to do was to say to him, okay, go get my belt. Then he understands that now mom means business. My second born, my daughter, all I had to say to her, my girl, I'm so disappointed in you. As soon as I say, my girl, I'm so disappointed in you, she bursts into tears, she cries, she falls apart because she would not dare disappoint mama. So I knew very well spanking her was going to break her because she doesn't respond to spanking. But when I say I'm disappointed in her, she responds to what I'm trying to get her to do. And she would not want to disappoint me. The third one, I can spank her, I can say I'm disappointed in her, it won't deal with her. She is a people person. So when I said to her, go to your room, then I have punished her enough. So you need to know what works for the children. So you don't always deal with them differently. There are kids where when they've done something wrong, you sit down with them and say, this is wrong because, the scripture says 1, 2, 3. They repented because they realized that they don't want to disappoint that. There are those that you're saying, listen, I'm so disappointed. Or there are those who say, sit in the corner. That breaks them enough. You don't need to use physical if you can help it. You just need to know what gets the children to respond. Oh, by the way, also my son, when you remove things from him, that really got him. If you said to him, listen, he loved reading. I'm taking your books, which we didn't like to do. But we knew very well that when you take that book for the day, that's going to get him to really realize that he needs to earn that book back. So he will do everything to earn that book back. So you need to understand how to do this without really breaking the child. For adventurers, do have a few short and simple rules. Don't make a long list of rules. They have a short attention span. They're not going to remember everything. Use signals to let the children know when you want their attention. For example, you can raise your hand or you turn the lights on and off. Anything that is out of the ordinary for them, it's going to get you the response that you want from them. Use silence. When you've been talking and suddenly you keep quiet, little kids normally tend to see, why did the counselors keep quiet? What happened? Then you can be able, then once they have that eye contact with you, you can be able then to address it. So make eye contact, make them to be silent, use your silence, and then make eye contact. And it's very important to use name. So it's important to know your children's name. Sometimes you just have to say, so and so, what's happening? Do you want to share what's going on? You get them to turn around and realize that, wait, I was out of sort now. Then you need to say, listen, we are busy here. Turn around, close that book, or turn off your phone. In fact, one of the things that I've realized, and something that I've done even when we're not in club, boys are always congregating. And then half the time they're congregating, around the phone or a laptop or something. And I always come to them, I said, oh, my boys, I hope whatever you're looking at or whatever you're doing, you'll allow me to see. Because if you can't allow me to see, I will just switch it off and put it away. Because you don't want to corrupt those minds. And they're like, oh, no, ma'am, we're just looking at pictures. So you've won their trust. You didn't just go in there and scream at them and say, turn off that thing, don't look at that phone. But you come in a way that makes them willing to say, no, ma'am, trust me, look. This is funny. We were looking at this picture. Then you've gained their trust. Stand near the child to get her back on task. That's very important for the little ones because then it gets them back to attention. Ask adults to interact with the children. Don't embarrass or shame a child in front of others or privately. Don't overreact. Don't lose your temper. Don't scream or use threatening or nagging words. Don't hit or spank a child. Again, that's criminal, according to the law, by the way. Don't insult a child by name calling, you are stupid, you are useless, you are lazy, etc. That breaks that child. They believe that what you're saying is true, especially at that age. At that age, they are very impressionable because whatever the teacher or whatever the counselor says, they think it's true. So when you are using those words, they believe that they are stupid, they believe that they're useless. So as a result, what good are you expecting from them if you're already giving them that? Because then they feel that they have to live up to that. So avoid using those words because they're not building, instead, they are destroying the child. Don't use sarcasm or compare children. Don't label children. Don't demand respect. Respect is earned. Hey, that's so important. And I always say to people, you know what? You have to earn the respect. This thing of it's good for the children to be told to respect the elderly, but at the same time, we as elders need to respect ourselves enough for the children to be able to respect us. Don't expect children to behave as adults. These little ones, you cannot, and especially because that's why it says give few rules, but also at the same time activities. Don't club the activities to the point where the kids are becoming restless. The kids, they can't pay attention. Don't do the lessons that are complicated for them, because obviously once they can't grasp what you're trying to say, they're going to find other things to do. They're going to start chatting with each other. That's going to start, sitting down on the floor and doing other things. So just be mindful of what you are doing with the children. What are the offenses that are punishable? Indecency, impudence to counselors, offensive language, injury or damaging property, cheating and stealing. Those are serious offenses that as a club you cannot overlook and you cannot minimize. But when I'm saying they are serious, that there are now issues that might require you to address the child, not necessarily, punish or hit the child, but address the child. The procedures for discipline: if the pathfinder is not obedient or cooperative, the counselor should tactfully speak to the child. The counselor should explain what is expected of the child as a member of the club. The counselor should have a private visit and prayer with the child. If the pathfinder continues to be disobedient and uncooperative, the counselor should solicit help of the deputy director in charge of the club discipline. They will privately counsel together with the child, and they should earnestly solicit cooperation, and they should pray with the child. If the pathfinder is to be approached on the third occasion, which I've done myself, the counselor, deputy director, and director should meet with the child privately. They should counsel with the child and explain the importance of unity, cooperation, and understanding spirit. They should attempt to convey to him the seriousness of the matter. They should pray together, and they should make an appointment to visit the home and counsel with the child and then the parents. Unfortunately, I must say I've been in this situation. If this continues after a home visit, the counselor should have a private visit and pray with the child. If misbehavior still continues, the case will be referred to the disciplinary committee. The disciplinary committee will consist of the counselor, deputy director, and a boy or girl chosen from the club. The parent should be notified, the child given a month away from the club. When the child is away from the club for a month, the counselor should visit the child while at home. We don't throw them away. We don't kick them out of the club. We still want them back in the club because there's a long-term benefit for them to be in the club. I must say that I've been fortunate in the sense that, depending on the spirit in which we approach the situation, we've been able to deal with it before it really completely gets out of control. But lovingly, and I think sometimes I feel like you wear the child down when you try to when you start really, one, praying with the child, and two, reading with the child what the expectation is as the member of the club, but also reflecting with the child on the character of Christ, what is expected of us as Christian. That child starts realizing that, listen, this person has a serious interest in me. I need to start looking at my behavior and seeing if really I can change this behavior, because if this person is taking so much time to pray with me, to tell me about the character of Christ, to tell me about the expectation from the club, surely I need to also do my part to make sure that I cooperate. And I think it has worked 3 times in my situation where I've had to deal with this. Thank you very much. That brings me to the end of this session. Thank you.
No, it's regarding the discipline for the kids. I don't know if I'll be wrong. I'm intended to be corrected because I've seen some of the slides as the madam was speaking, whereby it come to a point whereby some of the things which we think that we are trying to make our kids to be corrected, it will be actually end up being in the crime, like hitting a child with the uswas. It can become a crime. But I just want to make when I was actually looking at it, if you follow the top points which she was actually talking about regarding if you're disciplining your child in anger, you end up actually abusing the child. If you don't follow the protocols on disciplining the child, then at the end of the day, you are not disciplining the child, but you're using your feelings and also you're using emotions on dealing with the child's problem or maybe disciplining the child. So I think we should actually take what Mem was saying. Those don'ts, they're very important. Even when you come to a point whereby you can actually hit a child, maybe with the cup or whatever, it will be understandable why you hit. Because I don't want to come to a situation whereby we say that we have to put the copper away, because what I've realized is that all these things which are actually happening in this world today, it's because of the negligence of not being disciplined. Kids by not disciplining, being disciplined by the parents. So now it becomes a norm, and people, they've come to a point whereby anything they see, it's a normal thing, but while it is not. And more or less, I'll be asking myself, in the olden days, as much as we were living before these other policy and other things come to tell us on how to discipline our kids, the world was not into problems like what it is today. But it's because discipline was actually a lack to us and to the kids of today. And this is the reason why we are actually in problems like we're having now. I don't know.
Mema, can I just zone on one thing? Corporal punishment is not permissible. Corporal punishment will get you arrested. So don't even think about it. It's don't go there. And the other thing, I hear you saying that the kids, the generation back then and the generation now, when you investigate this very carefully, you realize that part of the problems that we are facing are a result of a generational disconnect. We are coming, we have people who grew up in a different generation, and they haven't come to the world of to come to understand the generation, the kids that they are living with in this current generation. They don't understand the generation of these kids. As a result, they want to take the kids back to their generation and deal with them with the issues as if they lived in their generation. But in actual fact, the kids that we have right now, they are living in their own generation. They have got their own set of challenges that are separate to what we were facing maybe when we were growing up some 30, 40 years back. So for us to expect them to behave like we were growing up 30 to 40 years back is actually completely wrong. This is why I say it's a generational disconnect. So what I'm really saying, I see a poll has been put there. I think we can actually participate in that poll, and it will give us a picture of our thinking. as far as some of the issues have been said in this